Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go over an announcement that came out of Regal Cinemas, I believe yesterday. And we're also going to talk about kind of the state of cinemas, at least in the United States, and the question of whether or not cinemas should be bailed out. Now, again, this is more of an opinion thing. These are my thoughts. These thoughts may not be shared by others. So if you disagree with me, that's fine. Put it in the comments below if you have a different idea, or if you think that I'm wrong, or whatever. I'm just putting that out right there right now. But the factual news for the day is that Regal Cinemas have announced, because of the delay of several major tentpole films following the release of Tenet, they are going to have to shut down until probably either late this year or early next year. They don't have a finite date on when they are going to reopen. Right now, it is currently indefinite. There are other cinemas that are doing the same thing. AMC, for whatever reason, thinks they can last. I have no idea why. But this is not something that I think was unexpected. Let's just put it that way. Cinemas have been getting hammered because of this thing, because of all the corona restrictions and all that. You know, along with the restaurant industry and other industries, they've been getting really kneecapped pretty hard by this. And right now, a lot of actors and a lot of cinema owners and the NATO, which is the National Association of Theater Owners, not the other NATO. They are petitioning the government for some form of a bailout for a lot of the larger theater chains. Now, I'm going to go over this, and the whole series of events going on with the theaters since the coronavirus took place. Now, theaters got shut down in, I believe, late March, mid to late March for most places. They were shut down completely because of, the restrictions on what people could do, and as a result, a lot of major blockbuster films were either delayed or released to streaming, or they've been released in the last month or so when theaters have started to reopen a little bit. Now, what's happened since then is that some places have fluctuated up and down with the infection rate, so a lot of theaters have been able to stay open, but they're all limited capacities. So the theaters are not getting as much money from these films as they would like, and as a direct result, also the studios are not getting as much money from these films as they would like, as evident as Tenet's box office, which was not good in the United States, which is really where they needed to make a lot of their money. So Tenet did lose a very large amount of money, even though it was released in theaters when most theaters were open. So it actually made a majority of its money overseas. It made a lot of money in China. It made a lot of money in Europe, and several other territories. And that was why a lot of people were kind of optimistic about what it was going to do in the United States. But a lot of people chose not to go see it. They chose to stay home or wait for it to come out on home media or on streaming or something else, so that they did not have to go to a theater. Now, after the initial shutdown, you had the issues that theaters had, where theaters started this. AMC and NATO started this. They started this back and forth with Universal Studios that eventually expanded to, I think, Disney and several other studios, which then AMC came to an agreement with Universal, which made that agreement itself made absolutely no sense. But basically, they were pissed because Universal was saying they were going to release some of their films to streaming, but they were still going to keep some theatrical releases, but they were going to release some of their films to streaming, direct to streaming. And a lot of the theater chains and NATO had an issue with that because they were going to lose money. So these are two competing, I shouldn't say competing, but these two industries should be symbiotic. They shouldn't be parasitic. And that's what's happening. Theaters are becoming parasites to studios. And normally I do not side with studios. Normally I say fuck studios, because studios usually make dumb decisions, or they make dangerous decisions, or they make decisions that ultimately wind up hurting the creativity of the film. Usually studios are not making, at least these days, are not making great choices when it comes to some of the things that they do, and especially in a lot of the business practices that they use. But in this scenario, I have to side with them because they're thinking about their business. And studios are hemorrhaging money just like every other entertainment industry because of this. So I understand they have to think about their bottom line, and theaters do too. But theaters started a flame war with studios, and then they go and they cry that they need the movies that the studios provide. You don't go up to the person who supplies you with your product and say fuck you, and then ask for the product anyway. That is what a moron does. That is horrible, horrible business sense. And I still have no idea how they actually came to an agreement with Universal, and I believe no other studio has taken up AMC on that agreement. And Regal also threw their hat into that ring as well. I don't know how many other major chains did. I don't know if Showtime Cinemas or Cineplex or any of those had thrown their hats into. And I think Cineplex actually did threw their hats into that fight. But still, the point is that AMC and Regal own, I believe, a majority of the chain theaters in the United States. So you have them throwing their hats in the ring for this fight that makes absolutely no sense with the people that they literally need in order to survive. So I don't blame the studios for saying "F you" and releasing a bunch of their shit to on demand. I don't blame them. I think that's probably the better business choice than releasing it to theaters, especially after the Tenet issue. And now, because the studios have had to delay a lot of their big budget films, like No Time to Die, which was really the reason why Regal is shutting down, because they were originally going to try and stay open and string it along until Christmas, and No Time to Die was going to tide them over the next James Bond movie. Now you have all these organizations crying to the United States government and saying, we need money, we need a bailout. And look, I'm sorry, you've dug this grave. You literally dug this grave yourselves. You have the fucking muddy shovel in your hand, for Christ's sake, and the coffin is open and waiting. They could have handled this much better. They could have worked with the studios. Maybe both sides would have gotten a little bit less money, but it may have worked out better instead of AMC and other theater chains trying to strong arm studios, which is just not going to work. By the way, that is an incredibly dumb idea. And now you also have organizations like Amazon and possibly even Netflix and other places that are looking to buy up cinema chains as they go under. AMC was rumored to be on the chopping block or be shutting down permanently a couple months ago. And supposedly I shouldn't say rumored, there was actually a statement about that from a representative from AMC. And then, it was discussed that Amazon may be looking to buy them up, which here's the other thing is that if these theater chains go under, because I know a lot of people are going to mention about, the jobs and everything like that. If these theater chains go under, they're going to get bought out. They're not going to get demolished. The industry will get bought out, and it'll get bought out by a large company. It'll get bought out by like Amazon, or possibly maybe another production company or something like that. Maybe a studio will buy out one of them if they have the money or something like that. But they will get bought out by some bigger entity. They won't just disappear and then there'll be nothing there. I doubt that will be the case. So if that is the case and they get bought out by somebody like an Amazon, a lot of the times when that happens, if it's going to remain a movie theater, they will simply hire the staff that was laid off from the previous company. That actually happens quite frequently with certain kind of niche businesses because they need people that know how to run that type of a thing, and they don't feel like, and this is basically a newer kind of industry for them if somebody like Amazon were to come in and buy that. So you're going to need projectionists. You're going to need ushers. You're going to need people to work concessions. You're going to need all this other shit, for people to come in and do jobs. So there would be no reason that they wouldn't just hire the people that were laid off by the previous company. Now, yes, that would that would not be good for them to be laid off. It would not be good for them to lose their jobs. But there's probably going to be a job waiting for them, to be honest. At least most of them. And by most of them, I mean the people that were the jobs that actually require some amount of skill to do. The jobs that you don't just sub out to either a cleaning company, or you don't hire a bunch of high schoolers to go do. Which actually I shouldn't say that, because I did know some people in high school that were projectionists, but still. The point is that the theaters have dug this grave. They dug it over the course of the last 6 months, and they did nothing to mitigate it. They did nothing to try and help their relationship with the studios. They only degraded it. So at this point, don't bail them out. I do not want the government to bail them out. At this point, they deserve to fail, because they have not come forward with a smart business plan. They have tried to strong-arm studios, which did not work, and I reiterate, will not work, because they have the outlet of streaming and video on demand. It's not. They have that outlet, so there's your problem. And the other issue is they have movies that are worth that they paid $200 to $300 million to make, and they don't see it coming back they don't see returns coming back on their investments because of what we saw with Tenet. Because movie theaters are not able to stay open, and they're not able to get the same type of crowds to come in because of the regulations based on the pandemic. So you can't just keep doing this shit and expect to stay in business. It is not good business to do what they have done over the last 6 months. And some of it was forced. I understand that. Some of it was the lockup, closing down and stuff like that because of the coronavirus. Some of that was forced by the state, and I understand that, as are the limitations. But you're telling me that you didn't have any kind of original ideas to try and mitigate things. There was a bunch of stuff about drive-ins. Walmart was opening up drive-ins. Of all places, Walmart. And you're telling me the AMC cinemas, with all of their different locations, couldn't have tried to adapt and put movies on screens in their parking lots. I don't understand why you couldn't do that and just have a little app that has the sound on it. I don't get why a lot of places didn't wind up. I shouldn't say a lot of places actually did wind up doing that, but I don't understand why AMC didn't try doing it in mass. Same thing with Regal, same thing with Showtime, and a lot of other ones. Now, I don't know to what extent some of these places did try to adapt to a drive-in. I'm sure some of them maybe didn't have the parking space, or couldn't rent it, or it wasn't available. I get that, but in the places where it was available, I'm guessing they probably didn't try. I know a lot of the ones in my area didn't. So they did nothing to help themselves. They sat there complacent, and then they bitched and moaned to studios because studios were trying to do something to save their own money. And I don't think that you should reward that. I don't think you should reward that with a bailout, even though, it's a shit situation. Because the people at the top of those cinema chains made horrible, horrible fucking decisions when they could have tried to adapt or change or do something. But that's just my opinion on all of this ongoing drama between studios and cinemas, and now with the whole buyout thing. But I want to know what you think. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you have any opinions, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, put them in the comments below. I like to read them. I like to know what you think. And as usual, hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?